Hello and welcome to this channel. If you would like to learn how to make wonderful homemade gluten-free pasta, this video is for you. First, let's talk about flour. For many years, our family has made our own gluten-free flour mixture out of rice flour, potato starch, and tapioca starch. I always like to make a big batch at a time, but for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to show you how to make a small batch. So first, we're going to take 6 cups of rice flour and 2 cups of potato starch and 1 cup of tapioca starch, and we're going to mix them together in this bowl. I always use, when I make baked goods, 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum for each cup of flour mixture in most of our baked goods. This one happens to be an exception. All right, now we have our flour mixture. So we're going to take, for making gluten-free pasta, 1.5 cups of this flour mixture. Put it in this bowl. Then we're going to take 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum and put it in. It's important to mix that well together so that the xanthan gum is evenly distributed. Now we're going to take and make a little well in the middle of our flour, and we're going to pour in 4 large eggs. Now, first, we're going to beat these eggs a little bit together, and then we'll start incorporating the flour. When I do this, I start with a whisk, and then at some point that becomes a bit unwieldy, and I just switch over and use my hands for the rest of it. Yeah, and I've reached that point. Flour and egg mixture, it'll start out a bit sticky, but then it'll get just to the point where it's barely sticky. The point where it's barely sticky, that's about what we want. If it's too sticky, then it won't feed through the pasta cutter, and you'll have a disaster. So adding flour is possible, but usually I just do it when I roll it out. What I want to do is knead it a little bit together so that it's very well incorporated. How wet it is will be very dependent upon how large each egg is. So you need to kind of get a feel for what the dough is supposed to feel like. It's supposed to be just barely tacky, but if it sticks to a surface, then it's too sticky. You need more flour. If it goes the other way and you need to add moisture, just get your hands wet, and then that will be enough. Don't go overboard. Okay, now I have my flour bowl. I'm going to split it into 4 fairly equal sized bowls. I do this merely to make it easier to work with. Okay. I take a little bit of my flour and put it down on the surface. So take the flour ball, squish it so it's the size of about a cookie, large cookie. Set it down and then flip it over so it gets flour on both sides. And we're going to roll it out. If it sticks to the rolling pin, stop, add some flour, and then we keep going. Sometimes I flip it over halfway, just so I can get some more flour on both sides. And you only need it as thin as the opening to your stand mixer attachment. Now, if you're like me and you don't know whether you want to invest in a pasta cutter attachment because you're like, well, I don't know if it's going to be good, I don't want to spend all this money, what you can do is cut it out manually. Just cut it out with a pizza cutter. Try it out before you go and get the tool. And let me tell you, the tool is worth it. But do the other first. Alright, I'm going to show you how to make your own fettuccine without a fettuccine maker. I'm just using a ruler and a pizza cutter. So I'll just cut this halfway. We're just gonna do this to keep it about even. Fettuccine. Put it over. Fold it back on itself and squeeze. There you go. Fold it over and back on itself and then squeeze. Okay. So when I go to run it through, you can take it and run it successively through the one that just flattens it. And you probably do need to do that for lasagna. But for fettuccine, I usually just roll it out by hand and then run it through. So I set it to 2. And just run it through. Don't worry about it clumping together. It'll come in the water just fine. We'll do one more of those. let's try spaghetti. Now I got the spaghetti one on. Yay, spaghetti! So here we have the pasta maker made spaghetti, pasta maker made fettuccine, handmade fettuccine, and our little bow ties. Now I'm going to show you how to cook it. So here we have our finished product. I just used a can of mushroom Alfredo sauce, but it holds up in the water and it tastes amazing. It is so much better than any of the dry pastas. Bon appetit!